Okay, so we're back. It's been about an hour. You can see a lot of that has already started to dry pretty well. The white stuff, it's just where it's thicker. It's got a little tack to it, but it's still wet, obviously, underneath, but you can touch it, which is why I kind of want to wait for a minute to do the front so I can let that dry so that I'm not having a problem when I'm laying the front down. I may or may not add, because there's my front hairline right there. Pretty good gap right there, but it might be all right. I'm going to lay this on here like this. It might be okay. I may need to put another little group back here, maybe, but we'll see. Here's what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the sides first, and then I'm going to use, because what I've got is, I've got two sections left, right? I've got this one here. You can see off to the side. I got this one here, and then I've got the very last in, right, which was, and this mat's pretty dry, by the way. I mean, it's got a little tiny bit of tack to it, but it's pretty dry. So I'm not going to worry about, I'm not going to worry about all that. Anyway, you can see that's the end. This one went here. Okay, so I just grouped that, or I just sectioned that off in half. I'm going to use these sides just because they kind of taper out and they're a little thinner rather than being a hard cut edge like these are. I'm going to go ahead and use these for the bottoms, so that way I don't have any, issues with thinning or anything on the top. So I'm going to go ahead and use them on the sides. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and lay these on first very carefully, and then I'm going to end up laying the front on, and I'll probably be able to group it together pretty tight, so it's not going to be gappy or anything up front. The hard part's going to be laying it down so that it doesn't have a giant hairline like this. It takes a little bit of a careful hand to lay the glue on that and then get it cut down to a really, really, really narrow, thin strip, which I'll show you. But I'm going to go ahead and pick this one for this side, right? And then I'm going to pick this one for the other side. See the wispy parts? I'll just pick that for that side, and this for this side. You can see why. All that's going to disappear anyway after I brush it all out. You're not going to see all that. So I'm going to go ahead and do this side first. You can see the line dead ends right there on both sides. Matter of fact, I actually had to put a couple of little pen marks because I lost sight of it over here. And I absolutely don't want to be in the middle of trying to figure out where it's at, especially after I put the glue down. I don't want to be trying to figure out where it's at. But anyway, there's a gap in there about that big. You can see it in behind the scenes masks like Christopher Nelson, in the shop working on them. You can see where they've got hair on them. There's a line of them in a row. They got hair on them, and you can see they've got a gap between the ear and where the hairline actually starts. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep following that method I always have, so you can see why I did that. I'm going to go ahead and group these tighter than they are right now. Try to jam it all in there as much as I can. I'm going to go ahead and put this down here. Plastic, it's just a sheet protector is all it is, so that I'm gluing onto plastic rather than paper. And I'm using the quick dry stuff. This is the quick dry tacky glue. I'm going to go ahead and change out my bottle, and I'll use this one over here. Let's just go for it. Let's be brave, right? You can see that wants to run a little bit. Gotta be quick. Quick dry stuff. I'm going to go ahead and do one pass over the end of this. It's a thick pass, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. Very, very, very thin. Okay. Now, I'm gluing right up to that line, which is the ruler. I'll show you why here in a second. I want it to be a hard edge. Put that right there. I'm going to go ahead and pull that off kind of quickly because, it's still pretty wet though. Now, see, I got a hard edge right there, which is what I want. Oops. And I'm going to cut that as close to that as I can. I mean, you're talking about 1/8 of an inch, maybe less. Oh, geez. Okay. Because I don't want, there we go. See that? I got that cut down to barely anything. You can see, but it's all bonded together. First off, I'm going to go ahead and pull this glue up just a touch. It's not the end of the world to get something like that because it's, I'll show you here. You can clean it off with water. I'm kind of embedding it into the glue. I've got it in a general place that I want it to be. What I've got here are some little paintbrushes. I've got different sizes. I probably should have shown you that before. Different little sizes, okay. And then I've got a little bowl, and I'm going to go ahead and put some water in it. Not much, because I don't want to dump it everywhere. I'm going to put some water into it, and I'm just going to get this brush damp. Okay. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and kind of push it, tuck it back. I don't know if you can see that or not. I don't think I'm in view. Okay, there we go. So I've got it like pointed down onto the mask. The tips of the hair are pointed down onto the mask, okay? And what I'm doing is I'm kind of pushing it back, embedding it into the glue. It's kind of a process, okay? I'm making sure to try to point it down, directly down onto the mask, if at all possible, because it's not a whole lot hanging on there. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and put a little more water on there. That'll keep it from sticking to my brush as much when I push it into the glue. I can actually take the glue and pull it out a little bit and thin it out a little bit. I got more control. Okay, let's get that off the ear. Yeah, see, this is pretty forgiving. This stuff is pretty forgiving. Matter of fact, I can take that glue and push it back up towards the hairline, and then, you know, it's just, you can just kind of work with it. Whoops. There, see, it's pretty forgiving. I'm taking the edges of the hair, and I'm just the very, very, very tips of the edges. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. And I'm fanning them forward. It's a delicate process. Okay, because what I'm trying to avoid is having a hard edge on the edge of the hair. I want it to smooth out over the top, but not so much that it's dragging the hairline down to 1/4 of an inch or anything like that. Let me get this off of here and you can see what I've done. Whoops, sorry. Now, there's a little bit of a hairline there, yes, still, of course. All right, remember the hair is very, very delicate. I can take this and kind of work. See what I'm doing? I'm kind of smoothing the edges of the hair down, kind of dragging it out a little bit, so it's not just a hard drop off edge. I don't know if you can see that or not. See, I caught some hairs there. Probably need to put a little water on this, probably wouldn't hurt. Now I can also push that glue back because it's shiny. When it dries, it's shiny, right? But that being said, you can always dab paint over the shiny, you know, to kind of dirty it up a little bit, which I usually do anyway. And it takes that shine off. But you can see what I've done there. Feel a little weird about that spot, but I think we're okay. Now, that's not a whole lot of grab, right? It's not a whole lot that's being grabbed onto right there. I'm going to pay attention to this over here because I'm kind of losing him, I think. There we go. Drag him back up. It's got a nice shape to it. No pun intended. I know that I got glue on this, so I'm going to go ahead and clean that off. It's not sticky anymore at all. Yeah, there we go. But I cleaned that off. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing here that I had done on the other one. Okay. There. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut really, really close. The only reason I'm leaving any on there is because I need the hair to bond together. I'm going to go ahead and stick this down into the glue like so. Okay, I'm almost pointing downward, like straight down. The ends of the hair are pointed down at the mask. I know that seems kind of strange, but what I'm trying to do is trying to just stab it into the glue and then let the ends of the hair fibers. I have to say though, doing it this way, because this is how I would do it with the crepe hair. Whoops, see, there we go. Doing it this way is actually easier with this hair. And the reason why is because it's light. And the crepe hair is heavier, and you know what that means is that it's trying to, as it's trying to lay down like that right there, that would have fallen off if it was the crepe hair. It would have pulled the whole entire thing out. Okay, so I've got a little weird spot there. And I can always add glue as I go if I need to. I can always put little dabs of glue in there with the brush. Okay, and it doesn't have to look exactly the same as the other side, but I think we're doing pretty well here. I'm going to drag some of that out. This is why I like the very fine brushes, very tiny brushes for spots like this. Okay, because it really helps a lot. Now this is kind of falling back that way, and that might actually be okay, because I'm probably going to overlap that front hairline, the very front hairline. I'm probably going to lay it over kind of over the top of these a little bit. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to feather it in. Okay. I may have a little bit more going on here than I did on the other side. I'm going to go ahead and pull this guy up here, because he is kind of pulling down a little bit. Okay. And the trick is just to fiddle with it until you feel comfortable with it. And you know, if you have a little bit of a hairline there that's not exactly like you're looking for, that's okay. Because when you style this stuff, I think this is going to style a lot easier than the crepe hair, the braids, because it's stiffer. And this stuff's pretty light, so it's like, I don't think it'll have a problem with kind of folding forward and then going back. Because what I don't want to do is lay the hair on like this and then fold it that way. I don't want to do that. That doesn't look right, I don't think, in my opinion, at all. I think this is, I mean, and this may be the hard way to do this. I don't really know. I don't know any other way to do this than what I'm doing right now. And this is just a little bit of trial and error. Okay, so you see I'm kind of feathering that glue down a little bit. Show you what I'm doing here. I'll put this on the just the very tip. Okay, and then I want to kind of feed that glue into that pocket. And like I said, if you see glue there, not even a big deal to go in there and put some darker paint over it. Alright, that's not a bad hairline at all right there. I mean, I'm really kind of surprised. I think I did a little goofy on this area right here. It keeps trying to pull up on me, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to quit fussing with it, because that's part of the problem, is I'm fussing with it too much. And I just need to let the glue set and just believe in the glue, because that's the problem sometimes, is you're looking at it going, there's no way that's going to hold. But it does. It's solid. It's not going to go anywhere. Okay, so I'm going to clean this off. Now here's the moment of truth. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit right here, because I am going to overlap just a touch. And that's okay to do that. What I don't know is if I've got too much hair. That's always a oh yeah, looks like I might. You know what I might do? Actually, let me see. I may go ahead and bust some of that off. You can still see them just right there in camera shot, but I need to get this down here where I am. Flip this over and use the side that's not glued. Okay. And I think I'm going to go ahead and, while I'm doing all this, I think I'm going to go ahead and lay this right here. Just because I don't mind having a little bit of fullness in the front. I'm not going to get crazy and mess around with this too much. I'm going to go ahead and really I'm just going to get down to it, and I'm just going to go ahead and just stab it on there, because this is in the back and it doesn't have to look pretty. There we go. Just to get it to sit there. Okay, this will add a little extra fullness. You know, I mean, you don't have to do this right away. I mean, I could have waited until I did this and let it dry and then brush it out and see what it looks like. I could have done that first. Never hurts a thing. Okay. All right. You may do this kind of thing and discover that there's other ways that you're more comfortable with, or other ways that work better. I'm all about easier and less time consuming. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pull that off right there. Okay. Now, I'm going to do the same thing on this one that I did on the other. Alright, now we've got our little wet paintbrush. It doesn't have to be saturated, but damp is okay. It keeps it from sticking. Okay, so I'm going to stab that on there. Down into the glue. Into the glue line. Go into the glue line, dude. You know what? You know what I may have done? Yep. Guess what I did? That's a lesson right there, huh? I waited too long. I sure did. It's already starting to set up. Soften that back up again. Alright, which is, like I said, it's water-based, so it's easy to do. Yeah, it's pretty set up already. Definitely would recommend not going slow at all. I mean, you don't have to go so fast that you're losing your mind or anything, but definitely don't recommend letting that set up any longer than I just did. Because that, now see how I overlap those, and you can't really even see where. Blend those together. Keep this very saturated. There we go. And let it saturate through the hair fibers. All right, now I've actually pushed that back a little too far. Now what I'm doing right now is I'm kind of taking the hair and I'm kind of tucking it back like that. So it's the hair is almost coming out of the top of the head like this rather than like this. Right? So I'm taking I'm kind of pushing like forward as I'm tucking it up underneath. But it's not rolling, it's just kind of, it's coming out of the head like this and kind of going up and over. Let's use this. Let's use this big dude. I'd rather not have all this shiny right here on the front. Okay, I see I'm getting little pieces that are trying to pull up and away. I'm going to go ahead and push those back under. I may need to babysit this for a minute. Now there's a point where I'm going to walk away from this and leave it alone and trust the glue to do its job. Now you see all that white right there. It actually didn't turn out that bad. That white went pretty far up into the hair. However, when it's dry, I don't even think I don't even think it's going to be a thing, honestly. I really don't. I think it's going to be just fine. I mean, anything that can make the hair have a little more character. It's got a little character to it. All right. So really now we're at the point where just all it needs to do is dry. And what I'm going to do is let it dry overnight and come back to it and brush it out tomorrow. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video here, and we're going to let that do its thing, and I'm going to go ahead and let you guys watch this one, and then we will catch back up with you and record some more tomorrow. All right, thanks guys. Bye bye.